didn't come here because I got fired.
Hey everybody, Brian Zane here from Wrestling with Regret, and you're about to watch another video starring my good friend, the Infuso.
These videos are not for children. If you are a children, then piss off.
Hey there, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, the Infuso. And today, you know what? I can't keep doing this. I can't just keep ignoring the elephant in the room, and for once, I'm not talking about me. There's a certain wrestling YouTuber who's talked a whole lot of smack about yours truly. And I'm sure a bunch of y'all know exactly who I'm talking about, considering that you messaged me his videos and let me know the exact timestamps of when he said what he said. I'm not complaining about that part, though. I like that. Continue to do that. Keep me updated. I'm not used to this whole, internet thing. Oh yeah, that's right. We're talking about some dumb, uneducated mark with a stupid accent. And for once, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Marky D, 123.
This week I thought I'd bring you something new. It's called the Smack List, and it's basically a list of YouTubers that I want to whack list. Occupying C is the Infuso. I'm not his biggest fan right now after the last video where he hijacked not just the video but also the comments section. Look, it's the Infuso. Now look V, you're not the first to try this. Ask Tom about me. Ask anyone in Levenshulme. I sent that boy back to uni to study hard to find out how to beat me. But Tom has earned my respect. The Infuso is back in the crowd again this week. And if you like the words that come out of my asshole, make sure you subscribe and shut up and smack that bell icon. Babu throws Tempest into the Infuso. This is Hawkuso. And if you like the words that come out of my asshole, make sure you subscribe and shut up and smack that bell icon.
Which is why I thought now was the perfect time to take this know-nothing know-it-all and bring him on an actual platform. This way he can embarrass himself to a much, much larger audience. Like I do. On, bi-daily basis here. But before we get into all that, I don't know about you, but for one reason or another, I've always chose the Marty Jannetty of teams. For those of you who don't know, the term Marty Jannetty dates back to the team of the Rockers, an iconic and legendary tag team that consisted of Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Now, Shawn Michaels would go on to become the icon, the main event, the man known as Mr. WrestleMania, a multiple-time world champion, and one half of one of the most famous, and at times infamous, stables in all of professional wrestling history. Whereas the other, being Marty Jannetty, would go on to become the namesake of the term Marty Jannetty. And he's currently making posts like this. You can see where I'm going with this, right? When you call somebody a Marty Jannetty of their tag team, it basically means that their tag team partner is the star, and they're just the other guy. Kind of like how Marky D is the Marty Jannetty in this review. You know, that's got a nice ring to it. Marky Jannetty. Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's you. That's your legacy. That's who you are. Now, that's not to say that the Marty Jannetty in a tag team is always unsuccessful. It just means that they're the least successful out of the two. And as I said, for one reason or another, I always backed the Marty Jannetty in teams, without ever knowing it. As a kid growing up, Devon was my favorite Dudley. Rick was my favorite Steiner. And for some reason unbeknownst to me, Stevie Ray was my favorite member of Harlem Heat. I don't know. I mean, sure, I don't stand by any of these opinions now, but there was a time where I did. But there's one opinion that I still very much do stand by. And it might be a controversial one, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't care how unpopular it is. I'm just going to come out with it. I always have, and I always will, prefer Christian to Edge. I said it. I said what I said. I said what I said. Now, no disrespect to the Rated R superstar. Adam, got nothing but love for you, man. I'm happy to see you back in action. You're doing your thing. I'm supportive. But Christian will always be my boy. It's pretty much always been like this. I've always preferred Christian to Edge. But if there was ever one period of time that completely solidified that opinion, for me, it was Christian's time in TNA. And here to tell you more about it is this Mark.
Marky D.
Before you watch the rest of this video, I just want to say now, if when watching at home, all of a sudden you think, I didn't know you can record off of a potato. I just want to remind you that most, if not all, of these clips were taken directly from TNA's official YouTube account, and most of these videos were uploaded circa 2006 to 2008, where I think like a 360p was the best that you could do when uploading a video. I also remember there was a period of time, a long period of time, where the longest video you could upload was 15 minutes a pop, meaning you'd have to break everything down into parts. It was a simpler time back then.
Marky D.
Christian Cage made his TNA debut in November 2005 and was closely followed by Sting signing full-time with TNA a month later. The main event scene in TNA was starting to hot up. Christian joining TNA gave them momentum and showed wrestling talents that there was a legit second place to work and make a living in the business, and I have to rate Christian as one of the most successful ex-WWE guys they ever hired. Much like many former WWE talents, Christian was immediately thrust into the TNA main event scene, except this time he was universally welcomed by the TNA fans. Christian's arrival in TNA unfortunately derailed Monty Brown, who'd been on a roll in TNA prior to Christian's arrival, and he soon beat Monty Brown in a number 1 contenders match for the world title. TNA would go on to protect Christian very well during his time in the company. He'd soon clash with Jeff Jarrett for the world title against all odds 2006, with Christian built as the underdog. Christian was the clear fan favourite here in this match. During the match, the crowd were going mental for Christian, and the crowd almost lost it when Christian kicked out of Jeff Jarrett's dreaded guitar shot, and then he nailed Jeff Jarrett for the 3 with the Unprettier. The crowd spilled into the ring to celebrate Christian's first NWA world title win. It has to go down as a classic TNA moment, all these great happy people in the ring, Christian hoisted on their shoulders above them. It made a lovely change when Jeff Jarrett being the champion. Finally, someone dethroned him. Jeff Jarrett's alright, but Christian's matches are definitely more exciting. I bet most of us sat at home wish we could have been in the ring celebrating with Christian. Christian may have been an ex-WWE guy, but he was an ex-WWE guy that they dropped the ball on. He wasn't just coming to TNA for a final paycheck like some others had done. He still had the passion, desire and determination to prove the WWE wrong. People talk about Samoa Joe's undefeated streak, but Christian actually went on a run for 23 months without being pinned or submitted. That's actually longer than Samoa Joe's win streak, but nobody ever seems to bring this up. I don't really know why. TNA didn't even make a fuss about it. As NWA World Champion, Christian feuded with Abyss for a few months, defending his belt, only losing the world title eventually to Jeff Jarrett in a King of the Mountain match involving 3 other men, and interference. Around this time, Christian stopped being such a fan favourite and became a bit of a complainer. He didn't seem to have too much to be happy about in his life. Christian's moaning would continue, and he was eventually granted a rematch, but it wasn't a straightforward one-on-one for the world title. Instead, it was a 4-way, also involving Sting, Joe and Steiner. The Stinger would win this match, leaving Christian still unpinned and unsubmitted. But without his world title, his frustrations would build up more and more. The storyline going forward was that Sting hated Jeff Jarrett and wanted to rid him from the company, and Christian had Sting's back. However, during the world title match, Christian would turn on the Stinger, smashing him over the head with Jeff Jarrett's guitar and costing him the world title, and turning heel in the process. Rhino would disagree with Christian's actions, and they feuded for a few months, with Christian continuing to be booked strongly throughout the feud, and ultimately winning the feud. Towards the end of 2006, a familiar face would debut in TNA, as Tyson Tomko reunited with Christian to provide the muscle. Cage would soon recapture the NWA World title at Final Resolution 2007 in a triple threat match with Sting and Abyss. It was during this run that Cage would play more of a cowardly heel, and he would have other wrestlers do his bidding. Christian had become quite chummy with AJ Styles around this point, and Christian would soon be making even more friends as he brought Scotty Steiner back into TNA to assist in his feud with Kurt Angle. Abyss would also be forced to hang around with the group by his manager James Mitchell. They mostly bullied him. The group would become known as Christian's Coalition. So how did Christian make so many friends? Simple. He promised all of them world title shots for helping him out. This often caused a lot of friction within the group, and it led to a lot of goofy backstage segments where Christian would find silly ways to keep stringing the other wrestlers along and keep them on side. Abyss would be kicked out of Christian's Coalition pretty quickly, and Steiner left not long after this after butting heads with Tyson Tomko. Cage was then set to defend his world title in a 3-way match with Sting and Angle, but the decision was made to strip Christian of his title by the NWA executives, due to Christian refusing to defend the title at live events. In the real world, TNA's agreement with NWA had come to an end, and the 3-way match would end up being for the newly created TNA World Heavyweight Championship, that Kurt Angle would win. Although Cage was still unbeaten in his time in TNA, it was all downhill from here. Cage was unable to win the belt on multiple occasions, and it felt like he was losing number 1 contenders matches almost every week. With the loss of his world title, it led to a loss in power over his troops. At Bound for Glory 2007, Christian's unbeaten streak would come to an end, as he was tapped out by Samoa Joe. Christian would also lose in a number 1 contenders ladder match to Kaz. It was a great match. That same night, Christian and Tomko would assist Kurt Angle in his world title match and help him win. This began the storyline of the Christian Coalition versus Kurt's faction, the Angle Alliance. AJ wanted Kurt to join forces with the Christian Coalition, telling Christian that he loved him. AJ was a massive goofball this time. Christian wasn't too keen on joining forces with Kurt Angle and wanted to be the leader of the group. Ultimately, the two just couldn't coexist in the same group. There was a big tug-of-war between the two factions over who AJ would side with, and Tomko didn't really want anything to do with any of the foolishness. Tomko often came across as the only sane one in the room during these segments. AJ would end up siding with Kurt Angle in the Angle Alliance in the end, and cost Christian yet another world title against Angle. Tomko would eventually decide to join the Angle Alliance in screwing over Christian. Christian would never win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, and he'd spend the majority of his remaining time in TNA teaming with his childhood friend Rhino, although they didn't win the tag belts. In my opinion, Christian's first year in TNA was exceptional. He filled a vital gap in the main event scene which was slightly lacking at the time. Christian came into TNA with a point to prove and showed WWE that they were missing out on him. And now I'm going to say something slightly controversial. No offence, but if Christian had debuted in TNA a year later in 2007, he wouldn't have had nearly as much success. Once Kurt Angle joined TNA and finished up his feud with Samoa Joe, it was clear who TNA wanted to build the company around, and it wasn't Captain Charisma. Christian joining TNA was the perfect timing, because at the time the main event scene pretty much only consisted of Sting, Jeff Jarrett and Abyss. Am I wrong, Big V? You tell me. I think Christian made a good choice leaving TNA when he did. He had nothing left to prove and didn't outstay his welcome. Him leaving opened the door for people like AJ Styles to come back into the main event scene, and by the time he left TNA, he'd gained more credibility than when he came in. The WWE would have seen his time in TNA as encouraging. Comparing Christian's time to Christian's time in WWE is a tricky one. He was booked completely different. In TNA he was booked like the face of the company for a year, whereas in WWE he was mostly just part of the tag team scene. And then when he broke out as a singles wrestler, I never felt like WWE took him completely seriously, although he was always entertaining on the mic, no doubt. Fans could see Christian's potential from a mile off. Christian's final match in TNA took place at TNA Turning Point 2008 against Booker T, where he'd be defeated in a match for the Legends title. You probably dodged a bullet there, Christian Cage.
I truly believe that Christian did some of the best work in his career in TNA. He was in tip-top shape. He wasn't just some WWE mid-carder that the secondary show pushed to the sky. There's plenty of those. He solidified himself as a bona fide main eventer, who justified his position in the company anytime he got in the mic or got in the ring. He was at the top of his game, even if he was hitting the world's shittiest frog splash. Listen, man, I get it. Alright, I understand that you did it as a tribute to Eddie, but honestly, I think that Vicky's frog splash was a better way of honoring the man. I'm sorry, bro, this just ain't it. Alright? This is not it. Still love you, though. In WWE, the nickname Captain Charisma felt just like that. A cheesy tagged-on nickname that had no relevance. But here, it felt like a well-earned reputation. It drives me crazy. I mean, really crazy. It keeps me up at night, wondering how WWE never properly capitalized off Christian's talents. I mean, that's not to say the guy had an unsuccessful run on WWE TV, because by no means did he. The man in question is a 9-time tag team champion, a 4-time Intercontinental champion, a former hardcore, light heavyweight, and European champion, a 2-time ECW champion, and a 2-time world champion. I mean, on paper, that's quite a resume. But in my opinion, he wasn't properly utilized the way he was in TNA. Even when he was a world champion in WWE, he wasn't necessarily treated like a world champion in WWE. For whatever reason, the belts that he had felt more like mid-card championships when they were around his waist. Whereas in TNA, he was not only heavily involved in the main event scene, but there were times that he was the main event scene. His 2 NWA championship reigns in TNA were a hell of a lot more memorable than all his time with WWE Gold. And I'm really glad we got the chance to see Conquistador. And I'm really glad that we got the chance to see Conquistador. God damn it! This is why white people should not be allowed to say Spanish words. And I'm really glad we got the chance to see Conquistador. And I'm really glad we got the chance to see Conquistador Dos shine. And that was the first time I said that. There was no other, didn't need any other takes. That was it. I did it. That was all me right there. Can I get my monies now?
Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
I personally believe the man made his biggest impact on Impact. He had some of the most memorable singles matches of his career. cut some of the best promos he ever had the opportunity to cut, was gifted the proper amount of screen time, and he just straight up radiated charisma. Move aside, Lex Luger. This is the total package. For my money, I would take Christian Cage's TNA run over Christian's WWE run any day of the week, and twice on Sunday. I also appreciated the fact that the company paired Christian back up with Tomko. It seemed like a natural continuation to their story in WWE, so if you're a continuity fiend like I am, this was a moment to rejoice. Plus, I feel that they really gelled better in Impact. Now, whether that be from the excess amount of time spent in each other's presence, or just due to them having more screen and mic time together,
I don't know!
But either way, it seemed to work a lot better. And if I'm praising TNA as properly utilizing Christian, then that goes tenfold for Tomko. I did not care for that man in WWE. Had no desire to even see him on my TV screen. Whereas in TNA, actually kind of entertaining. Was just a little bit disappointed when Christian came back to the company without him. I was a little upset. The world wasn't ending or anything, but, could have been better. I don't know. Not to mention, Christian had showed some really great chemistry with AJ Styles and Scott Steiner as well. His feud with Jeff Jarrett produced some of my favorite matches of all of Double J's career. And it goes without saying that the NWA Championship almost looked as if it was tailor-made for his waist. Christian and TNA just worked on any and all levels. And if for whatever reason you haven't experienced that, then I highly suggest taking a look back and you stop depriving yourself. The company booked Christian like a star, and Christian properly carried himself like one in return. His time in the brand was classic. Instantly. So that was Christian's time in TNA. And if you didn't know, now you do.
I would like to thank Big V for letting me, Marky D 123, join him on this video. I mostly make TNA videos, so I guess that's why I was invited on this channel. I'm currently halfway through reviewing the TNA vs WWE Monday Night Wars, where I flick between the two shows. It's a good laugh, so check it out.
Now, we've told a lot of jokes here, mostly me, because I'm very funny, and almost all of them have been at Marky's expense, because it's funny to do. But in all seriousness, I want to genuinely thank Marky D for coming here, and I want to thank him for getting me his part of the review. The amount of time it took him to do it, compared to the amount of time it took me to put this together, it just doesn't add up. Like, I'm not even kidding. He sent me his half of things in February. It is January now. I mean, fuck, man, I get it. I totally understand why you made fun of me in your videos. I guess I'm just lucky that no one watches them. So, Marky, my sincerest apologies. Much appreciated. Great working with you. You ever talk that shit again, though, I'm gonna have to come down to your channel and get some shit done. You don't want that, Marky Mark. So to all you degenerates out there, you already know what to do. Head on over to Marky D's channel, click that little red subscribe button, and don't forget to let him know who sent you. This guy. Spam that comment section and let him know why we reign supreme. So with that being said, I'm Infuso, that was Marky D, and I thank y'all for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out. Catch him next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.